Smith has it.
Let's get down to sports. Here's Robin Adair.
Thanks, Bruce. And tonight it was the biggest fight night in Canada. There can now be no doubt that Trevor Berbick is indeed the finest heavyweight in this country. As 4,500 fans in Nanaimo would testify to, Berbick took control of the island's Gordie Racette from the first round and finally put him away at 125 of the 11th in a TKO. And from Nanaimo, we have the NewsHour's Alec Robertson on the line. And Alec had Z's observations, I'm sure, on the fight night. Alec.
The NewsHour's Alec Robertson was at the Bevan Sports Complex in Nanaimo tonight. And Alec, what exactly took place?
Well, it was quite a performance put together by Canadian heavyweight champion Trevor Berbick as he retained his title with a very impressive win against hometown favorite Gordie Racette. The end came approaching the 1 minute and 30-second mark of the 11th round. At that point, it was all Trevor Berbick. As a matter of fact, the fight probably should have been stopped in about the 9th round. Gordie Racette came out very strong in the very first round, and he did come up with a very good round, but it was obvious Trevor Berbick was just feeling him out, and there was really no damage done. But then in the second, during the latter stages, that's when Trevor Berbick took over, and it was his experience and his poise that was obvious. And for young Gordie Racette, the experience that he was facing was absolutely no match. And towards the end of the fight, and Berbick actually made Gordie Racette into quite a mess. And as I mentioned, maybe the fight should have been stopped a little earlier, but certainly a courageous effort by Gordie Racette. He came into the ring with plenty of hope, and of course that Cinderella dream not able to come true. But as far as Trevor Berbick is concerned, he was very impressive, and the fans at the arena appreciated the performance, even though they were disappointed that their hometown favorite had lost.
And Alec, what was the atmosphere like in the Racette corner directly after the fight?
Well, I was quite surprised at Gordie Racette's reaction. I mean, he took a beating tonight. It was obvious, as I mentioned from the early going of the fight, that that's the way it was going to go. And Gordie Racette told me, despite the beating, he was going back to the drawing board. And I was also surprised at Trevor Berbick's reaction. Even though he dominated from start to finish, he made a point of stating that young Gordie Racette was an excellent fighter and could someday become champion.
Well, that sounds great, Alex. Sounds like a good fight tonight up in Nanaimo. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
In other sports, the Men's World Cup
chapter of Rocky III was supposed to be written last night in Nanaimo. Canadian heavyweight champion Trevor Berbick and the challenger in his own backyard, Gordie Racette. Alec Robertson was there.
Well, the city of Nanaimo is winning.
United flies more people.
Chapter of Rocky III was supposed to be written last night in Nanaimo. Canadian heavyweight champion Trevor Berbick and the challenger in his own backyard, Gordie Racette. Alec Robertson was there.
Well, the city of Nanaimo has waited a long time for this championship bout. In fact, it only took 2 days for the facility to be completely sold out. And despite these economic hard times, fight fans are paying between $20 and $200 to be here tonight. And that makes for a $200,000 live gate, and by Canadian standards, that's a very large figure.
It was a scene that sent shivers up your spine. The sold-out Frank Crane Arena went wild as their hometown hero made his entrance to begin what he knew had to be the toughest test of his young career. Then the heavily favored and very confident champion Trevor Berbick going in at 221¼ pounds. Racette was 4 pounds lighter. Berbick with a 19-2-1 mark is just off of that victory against Muhammad Ali, and he's on the verge of a huge payday and another title fight, so this certainly had to be considered quite a gamble. And it was down to business, and Racette looked good through the first round, landing several solid blows, but they did not bother the champion at all. It was into the second when Berbick began his impressive display, landing one punishing blow after another, and it became obvious that Racette's lack of experience would lead to his downfall. But still, the crowd stayed with their man Racette, and he tried so very hard. But there were very few moments where Racette was able to penetrate the champion's defenses. At several points, Berbick unleashed vicious attacks, driving the challenger into the corners and partway through the ropes. Racette took mandatory 8 counts in the 9th and 10th rounds. This was before the referee moved in to stop everything at 135 of the 11th. Trevor Berbick had hardly worked up a sweat, and Gordie Racette a courageous but thoroughly outclassed opponent. But, says Trevor Berbick of Gordie Racette, a young man with a brilliant ring future.
You understand the situation? I'm in his hometown. The judges I don't know. I got to make sure that I'm ahead. It's simple.
Why is Gordie Racette a good fighter?
Well, because he's got a lot of heart, and he come to fight. I hit him a lot of time, a lot of good shot. He looked at me, shake it off, and came back. And that's a sign of a good quality fighter. We need people like them in this country.
He had a little more experience. You know what to do on the inside. I kind of choked a little bit. Was a little tight.
Don't cut him off.
And was a little tight.
Got the hand wrap.
And that was my mistake, you know. And I just kind of have to work around it. That's always been my problem. I guess I still haven't solved it yet.
How surprised were you?
Well, I wasn't really surprised with him. I was more disappointed with myself. As usual, I work better in the ring, and I kind of spar, and I kind of choke a little when I'm fighting.
Keep it back.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's back to the drawing board.
Well, you know, even if you won it, it's still back to the drawing board.
All right.
You still got lots to learn.
A dream promotion for the city of Nanaimo, and for Trevor Berbick, another step in his quest for another shot at the World Championship. For Nanaimo's Gordie Racette, a Cinderella dream that just couldn't come true, and an experience you'll never forget.
The men's World Cup.
3-point halftime lead. With Bailey and Wittenberg leading.